Hey everybody, and welcome to this channel. Today we're going to talk about compound interest. We're going to talk about how it can be beneficial to you and how can it maybe work against you. Hi, my name is Stefan, and if you're new to this channel, in this channel we talk about investing, and we give you information on how to be a better investor. I really want your help because we are trying to get 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So get on board, go ahead and subscribe, and let's get this to as many people as we can. Now, probably the most underrated secret out there in the world, or under a known secret in the world, is compound interest. And Einstein said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. Now we're going to go into detail a little bit later on this, but first, what is compound interest? Compound interest is literally making money on your investment, and then that money that you made on your investment is making money together onto the next investment, and is basically just making money on your money and keep pushing it forward. And to give you an example on how you can work out compound interest the best is your initial investment. How long will it take to double? So you can use the rule of 72, and that is simply stating that if you're going to get 10% on your initial investment every year, you can take that 10%, you can divide it by 72, and you're going to get 7.2 years to double your money. And if you're going to get 15% on your initial investment, you divide that by 72, the 15, and you're going to get every 5 years to double your initial investment. And this is the rate of return that we like to get, or that's the minimum rate of return that you should accept when you invest in a good company. And if you make between 24 and 26% and you divide that by 72, you're going to get around about 3 years to double your money. And if you've watched some of these videos, you'll know I love Monish Babrai, and his number plate on it says 26 COMLB 26. So that means that he is looking for a 26 return. So he wants to double his money every year. There's a famous story on compound interest, and that is the story of how chess got developed. So you know that there are 64 blocks on the chess game, and there was a guy that invented chess, and the king heard about it in the medieval times, and he said, I want to see this peasant. And eventually the peasant got there with the game. The king said, okay, explain to me how this game works. So they went on with the rules and explained it, and the king played it a bit with him, and he said, well, I like this game so much that I will give you whatever you want. You can choose whatever you want. And he said, okay, I will choose a grain of rice. So, but the rule of what I want is I want you to double the grain of rice on every block. And the king said, well, thinking that it's going to be so little, yeah, no problem, I'll do that. So he told his servant that he should give him the rice and calculate the rice and give it to him. After 2 weeks, the peasant came to the king, and he said to him, well, why haven't I received my payment yet? And he summoned the servant, and the servant said to him, sir, we are still counting the grains. There are too many grains to count, and actually our whole kingdom doesn't have this amount of grains. Now later in this video, I'll go into detail and explain to you why there wasn't enough grains and how much it compounded. But just remember that there are three things when it comes to investing, or when it comes to compounding and investing in general. The first thing is the length of time that you have available, also known as the length of runway you have available. The second one is the amount of money that you start with. And the third one is the interest that you're going to get on that money. So if you look at this, if you start early, you have a long runway. And the amount that you start with, today we're going to start with 10,000. And to give you an example of how you can take that 10,000 and actually retire sooner than you think. And then the third one is rate of return. We always want a minimum rate of return of 15. 26 is ideal, 100% is the best, but yeah. So to give you an example, let's start with 10,000. You can start with any 10,000 RMB, $10,000, 10,000 rand, rupees, wherever you are in the world. just let's take 10,000, and you start at the age of 20. And you want a 15% return, so that means you're going to double every 5 years. So at 25 you'll have 20, because you take the 10 multiply it by 2, you're going to have 20. At 30 years of age you're going to have 40. Now remember that you cannot use any of these initial investment. You just put it in and leave it there and forget about it. At 35 years of age you're going to have 80. At 40 you're going to have 160. At 45 you're going to have 320. The same initial 10,000. At 50 you're going to have 640. At 55 you're going to have 1.28 million. At 60, 2.5, and 65 years of age you're going to have 5.1 million. Now there you can say, okay, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to take this money and I'm going to just spend it. I'm going to travel the world at 65. I just want to do nothing. I just want to. You can even do it at 60. Now this is the 10,000 that you initially put in. You didn't put any cent more than that. Now it's safe to assume that at 26 you might put 10,000, at 27 you might put 10,000, at 28 you can just keep building this whole portfolio as you go. The secret is to never use it and to wait. And the other secret is to get that 15%. Now this channel strives to help you to get that 15%, and on that road maybe we can get to a 20 or 26% by following the best investors and following some advice of some of investors that have achieved it throughout the years. Warren Buffett have done about 20% a year, so he's done a really good job, and we can learn from him a lot. Let's say you left it till 80, you have 41 million. Now it's a great thing to leave for your kids, for your grandkids, if you can't use it at 80 anymore, but I'm sure you can if you live to that long. Let's say you didn't start at 20, you started at 25. At the same 65 years you will have 2.5 million. You see how crucial it is to start early. At 80 you'll have 20 million, still a hefty amount. Now if you wait until you are 35 and you start with this compound interest secret, at 65 you'll only have 640,000. Now yes, it's a big amount with 10,000, and you just have to be more aggressive in your investments. At 80 you'll have 5.1. If you leave it until you're 45 with that 10,000, you're gonna have at 65 you're gonna have 160,000 only. So it's crucial to start as early as possible, and it's imperative for you to try to not use this money while you invest it, because a lot of people invest, and then at 10 years you can see here maybe at 10 at I don't know, 3-4 doubles, you have so little, you think, let me use this money and I'm gonna go on vacation, I'm gonna do something. And the secret is to leave it a little bit. Be patient. Patient is the key. Now how can compound interest work against you? Now the same way as you can go positive with your money and you can try to get interest on your money, if you have debt, if you have credit card, if you have some credit or payments that you need to do, that payment goes in the negative with this interest. Normally credit cards, I just looked at my credit card the other day, it was 15.5%. I almost fell off my back, because knowing this secret of compound, I couldn't believe it, and I told my wife I never used a credit card. I'm just gonna I leave it there for emergency, but I'm just gonna cancel it, because it shouldn't be like that. I haven't used it for years though. So make sure that you try to pay your debt off, and if you pay your debt off, if you have any, after you paid off your debt, that is when you're going to really start to increase your wealth. So remember that it can always work on a negative. Now remember I told you about the king. Let's look at why they said that there were 2 little rice grains, because he started with 1. When he got to 10th block, he only had 512 grains. So I guess the servant thought, yeah, we can do it, and they kept counting. When they got to the 17th block, 65,000 grains of rice. When they got halfway on the chessboard, they had 2.1 billion rice. I think they will still be counting today. And so when they got to 50,000 or 50 block, that a lot. And then at 64 blocks you will have 9 quintillion grains of rice. That means 18 zeros. So 9 and 18 zeros by just doubling your rice grain. So I guess, oh, and by the way, the king, in that story, he actually killed the peasant who invented this game, and he said, yeah, because you want to be smarter than the king. So I don't know, is it true? It's probably not true. It's a story, but it's a powerful story. To give you an example, 1 trillion seconds in our life is 12 zeros. 1 trillion is 12 zeros. In seconds, it's about 30,000 BC. So this is just how big a trillion is, and this one is quintillion with 18 zeros, so 6 more zeros on top of that. So remember that start as early as possible of investing, and if you are watching this video until the end, you have done a great job so far. So you're on a good way, good road to become financially independent. If you start even with a small amount, just start as soon as you can, and try to compound this thing and try to make as much money as you can, and then get a good rate of return. 15 is ideal, is the minimum, and if you watch some of my other videos, you will understand that we try to get 15%, and we try to follow the best investors to get that 15%. If you find some value in this video, go ahead and like, subscribe. Let me know what do you think about this story. Let me know what rate of return you have got. And yeah, again, my name is Stefan, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.